Welcome to Strike Point Strategies. I've got my my counterpartner here, or counterpartner, Misty.
Your broker.
And well, this is going to be a fun one. We're pretty excited to do this. So welcome. We actually have a few questions that have come in and some things that we want to talk about and address. So we're going to draw from the tub here, the crystal.
There's some questions.
This thing is so pretty.
There's some topics. I didn't have a fishbowl, but I had that. And there's a story in there we need to tell. So who's going to go first?
Why don't you go first?
All right.
Age before
now, you stop it. So I know that some of these are probably going to be for you or for me, and then some we can elaborate on. So let's see.
Question 1.
We have a question. Yep. What are the advantages of using a broker versus a for sale by owner? And ironically, we discussed just this week that our next podcast is going to deep dive into this exact question.
Yeah.
So number one thing is, oh goodness, I'll give you all sorts of things. If you're a for sale by owner, and whether you have sold or not, there's just so many parts of the real estate process that you don't know. Laws change literally every year, and there's no way that you can keep up on them because it's hard for brokers to keep up on new laws. You typically have no idea how to appropriately price your house, and you're not doing anything to market it. I actually went by a fairly brand new house recently. Somebody drove me by and said, hey, there's a for sale by owner. I know him. Let's see if I can introduce you. And I said, hey, there's the sign. Let me get out, take a picture. I'll call him. The phone number that they wrote with the marker was washed off. Couldn't even see it. It was on a side road. It was a neighborhood that I knew very well. I didn't know that this track of new houses even existed. Who are they exposing to? More importantly, you may have a buyer that only feels comfortable working with a broker because they understand the legalities of it. And now you're stepping in and buying a house from somebody that may not know what they're doing. We could go on and on and on about all of those things. And what happens is the broker is now brokering both sides of it. And they're willing to do that, but that's typically not how it's done. The number one thing is you have no idea how to present your home, how to market it well. It's not being seen on the MLS. And in this market, everybody's looking online. Nobody's driving around looking at your house. And more importantly, you are laying so much money on the table. I have a lot of scenarios that come up where the owner will sell to a tenant. And every time that I've represented the buyer, the owner has left so much money on the table that they have walked into equity. And I can't necessarily tell them, hey, you should really put this on the market and maybe gain $50,000, $60,000 more, which would more than pay for 2 brokers. There's just a multitude of things that you leave on the table. You don't have the contacts to. I had somebody call me recently. I'm doing it for sale by owner, but I can't find anybody to appraise it because the escrow company will not close it unless there's an appraisal, no matter what's going on. And I had to be the one, and I knew him well, fine, and I had to find an appraiser for him. So give an opportunity to a broker just to see what your options are, and you will then find out how many things you don't know about the process. What else? What else do you think? What about the financing side?
I agree. Yeah, on the financing side too. I mean, it's just the legalities is the big part. Mm-hmm. So you and I, we've had conversations about how to approach the for sale by owners, and we all know they want to save money. But yeah, the financing is, we can still do it, but we see times like you hit the nail on the head just about walking into equity, not pricing it right. And then maybe an owner knows that, or doesn't know that if he does go with a broker that positions the property correctly, you're going to gain way more than you would by doing for sale by owner, even though you want to save a few pennies by not having a broker represent your property. But
in the way that Washington state law has changed this year, the seller is not responsible for paying the buyer broker. Now, it's common practice and it's still happening, but even if you hired a broker, you could negotiate a very low commission for the buyer broker to see if maybe the buyer can come up. Like, there's ways of doing this. I would be willing to give up part of my percentage to the buyer broker to broker both sides of it. There are so many things about you selling that house that you're just not aware of, but you think you know. And I see so many times where they put the sign in the yard and then they end up going to a broker. You know what you did? You wasted so much of your time. One other thing is it's the exposure. And I know I said it before, everybody looks for a home online today. How are they going to find your house? How are they going to find it? And things are, if it's priced right and the home is, well presented, it's going to be off the market in just, days or just a couple weeks. But explore the option of what a broker can do for you. See what they tell you. And at that point, you can give it a go. I mean, I've had people say, let me give it a go. And if it doesn't work out, I'll call you. Sure. I don't want to do business with somebody unless they want to do business with me. But in the end, I listen to how much they're selling their house for. And I think, well, I could list it for more and it would actually compensate myself and the buyer broker, and you could potentially end up with more money. Lastly, if there's a broker involved, even if they're just representing the buyer, there are state contracts that are, they're written up by attorneys. We have to use, as a broker, the same contract for every deal in this state. And what those contracts do is protect everybody involved, not just the seller, not just the buyer, not just the broker, the lender, everybody involved. When you are doing it on your own and you have somebody purchasing on your own, it just opens up for lawsuit. And that is my biggest concern, is the legalities, you potentially getting sued or in the middle of a lawsuit because you have no idea what you're doing. And 9 times out of 10, you are leaving tens of thousands of dollars of money on the table.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And one thing, so is like a lender, me approaching a for sale by owner, and where you said, well, we can come in and do represent the for sale by owner for a reduced commission, whatever that is, that's negotiated. So, and one of our strategies, approaching a for sale by owner, for me, I can go in with a FSBO packet, for sale by owner packet. It's got instructions on how to open escrow. It's got a title company in there. It goes through some of the legalities. And 9 times out of 10, when I follow up after a couple of days with that person, hey, what'd you think of the packet? Do you have any questions? Any buyers I can help you vet? Any questions on that? What did you think about the legality part? That's the part that scares them, and then they're like, well, is this real? Yeah, that's 100%. And that's a good time, for me to loop. Okay, well, you know what? I do have a broker that you can talk to that would help you navigate this. If you want to, you guys can discuss what that payment's going to look like, but coming in as a reduced fee, and you're still helping them sell their house, probably gain more than they would selling it by themselves. And then also you get to flip that and then turn around and represent them on the buying side on their new house too.
Well, and I've even approached for sale by owners because I don't want to come in and try to get the listing. I'm probably going to be one of a half a dozen brokers that are trying to do that. If they wanted to do it to begin with, that's what they would want. And it's a big turnoff. What I do to approach them is, would you be interested in me coming in and taking pictures for social media to try to expose it online because you don't have any exposure, to see if I can bring a buyer? Then if I bring a buyer, it's an off-market deal. We're still doing it the right way. It's still using all of the state contracts, and we are making sure that everybody's protected, even though you were for sale by owner. The only thing I cannot do if I'm representing the buyer is you are on your own to suggestions and advice and negotiations. And in the end, that might not be what you should be doing, is negotiating against somebody that negotiates for a living. Just think about all of those things. I think a lot of people, just like interviewing brokers, you should interview several to see what somebody can offer you, just not about what they're telling you, but it's kind of the same way in this situation. At least meet with a couple brokers and see if, wow, this is really, really out of my realm, or, I'm going to give it a try. Because we're still wait around, and if it's a month or 2 or 3, then you can call somebody and then you know. But it's a hairy situation, and in person and a consultation, if I was trying to convert a FSBO to a listing, we'd get a lot more in depth in these answers.
Yeah.
Like I would I would scare you with the legalities that you can get yourself into. And that's how I was taught.
They can be scary.
It is. That's how I was taught as a broker. My DB is great. Tells you, let's talk about this part of the contract. This is what it means. Then he always tells me the worst horror story he's ever heard in real estate. And what it does is it resonates with you and you think, well, I'm never going to make that, that mistake or allow that to happen. For sale by owner, you guys have no idea of all of the scary horror stories and legalities and lawsuits that happen in real estate. That's why they are attorney drawn up statewide contracts that every single one of us have to use so that we don't deviate from potentially getting sued. That is my number one thing as a broker, is to protect you. That's the very first thing. Protect your property, your money, your privacy, all of that stuff. It starts at protection, and we go down to what your priorities are. I'm sure my number one thing is I don't want to get sued. So I think that you're probably going to be in the same boat with me. And then the next thing is, let's try to get you as much money for your house. Let's try to, accept a buyer that is going to meet your needs. The priorities start to, go down the list, but really think about protection. And if you don't know what you're doing and you find yourself in a lawsuit, you're going to wish that all you did was call a broker and give up 2.5%, 3% at a minimum.
Yeah, that was good. And if you are a for sale by owner, you're thinking about putting your house up for sale by yourself, or you have, and you've got some questions, please reach out to us. We'll walk you through that. Whether it's you still continue to do the for sale by owner, we'll help you with the escrow and all that stuff. But this is the broker, and you can ask your questions too. So for sale by owners, I want to hear you in the comments. If you're not ready to convert and list it with a broker, I'm okay with that. It's your house. It's your business. Like I said, I want you to really say, I want to work with you, Misty, but I'm still willing to give you advice to let you really evaluate. Can I do this on my own? Do I know what I'm doing? And I hate to say it, but most FSBOs, you're really letting the buyer, broker, and title and escrow pick up slack that you guys should be doing. There's a lot. Well said.
Yep.
Well said.
It doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It just means that you're open for a lot of mistakes.
All right. So next one here we have, let's take a look. No drum roll. We're cutting costs. Topic. Okay. So the contractual obligations between the broker and the buyer.
So when we think about this topic, I mentioned this at the beginning of this year. Washington state law changed where a buyer broker they're not required to get paid by the seller. The seller can actually list their house, and they have to negotiate a commission percentage with the listing broker, but they do not have to offer the buyer broker anything. And that's where, when you're representing a buyer, you need to have that conversation if this comes up, because more than likely, we still see sellers offering commission. Even if it's reduced, some brokers will accept the reduction. Some brokers will still ask, hey, would you pitch in 0.5%? And most people, oh yeah, I can do that. Everything is up for negotiation now. But really what you're getting into is, here's my biggest pet peeve as a buyer broker. And even though this topic is about the broker and the buyer, it affects Jeremy as well. And we've been in this circle so many times. I just get the phone call, I want to see this house. And even if they've been pre-approved, I need to meet with you. I can talk on the phone, but it is so much better for us to have face-to-face communication. You have no idea how much I need to know from you. It's beyond, I need a 3-bedroom and a 2-bath and I want to be here. It is way beyond that. It's not just the details of the house. I need to understand how you want to communicate, how you want me to communicate to you, how we want to look at houses. But more importantly, there are contractual obligations between me and you that we need to iron out before we look at anything. And buyers are not, I don't want to strong arm you into that meeting, that consultation, but I cannot hit the ground running with you taking the lead. I need the time for you to understand the contractual obligations that have to happen in this state for me. You know, we can look at houses, but I should really have all of that under wraps and know exactly what we're doing so that we're not wasting time. And I get people really resistant. I'll meet you at the house I want to see. We've never bought that house. It's because they don't realize what's involved in getting to the point of us finding the perfect house for you.
Yeah, and that consultation, I feel like a lot of times it's an underrated step that people don't take. We've been talking through that through this series. Yeah,
it is.
Yep.
I cannot do my job at a high level the way that I like to if you are running the show. I need to have a full understanding of what your needs are, and if you're not giving me that chance, it's like a diagnosis from a doctor. Would you want a diagnosis for a disease, but you don't want to see the doctor in person and have tests done? It's the same analogy. That doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
It's so crucial in real estate. It's so crucial because there's so many facets behind the scenes that you're not aware of. We know that you want to look at houses and we know, what you want to look at and all that stuff, but we need to understand how this state conducts real estate, how I'm going to help you as a broker. I need to understand your needs for the house. And even, like I said, even how you want to communicate. I want to mold myself and into your convenience. And if you don't give me that chance, then you may not like that I'm texting you versus calling you, or calling you versus texting you, whatever that may be.
Yeah, then there's friction and you're like,
Yeah.
there's no, yeah. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I get that.
Yep. Anything else on that?
I think you covered it.
Well, I mean, we could go on forever.
Yeah, that's a
Is it
long
back to
topic
me
too.
again?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
I don't know what it is about you pulling, but I'm excited. Like, what do we got?
Okay, we have a topic. This is going to be on you because we've talked about this.
Okay.
Receiving broker or lender referrals on a social media community page.
Oh my gosh. So, one of my favorite posts that I see. So, let's back up. When you're scrolling on Facebook and you're on the community page and you see, I'm looking for my husband and I, or whatever the situation is, we need a realtor. Who do you got? Who's the best realtor in such and such town?
And then
whatever.
you have 40 answers.
More than that. There was one, this one. So this poor, most of the time I look at them and I'm like, oh, this poor person is, hey, we're first time home buyers, just starting the process. Who's a good realtor in our town? Like, all right, here's my thought process. When you look at there and there's 8,432 comments for realtors that are in Pierce County that are like, oh, here we go. Plus the people that are referring other ones. Mm-hmm. My favorite, I love to just see how these realtors are selling themselves in 3 or 4 lines. I love it. It's my worst post to see, but it's my favorite. And worst by worst. So what I mean by that is, like, if you're preparing to purchase a home and you're starting to think about taking those steps, it's already, you're discombobulated. There's a tornado of misinformation going on in your head. And then you go and you introduce more anxiety and more confusion by posting on the public board, hey, I need a realtor, or the lender. And then you get overwhelmed with all these, and you're like, it's like trying to pick a hotel in Hawaii,
Here's what I think from our side of things, my perspective as a broker. I would be happy if somebody suggested me, but here's, as a homeowner, and this is what we're giving you advice. Whether it's a listing broker or a buyer broker, think about this. Why would you take a stranger's referral just because you heard 6 of them? More than likely, that broker is probably competent, but do they fit your needs? Are they going to mesh well with you? You could interview 5 brokers and everybody really be in the same, realm of this is what I offer, this is what I can do, blah, blah. And you'll narrow that down to 3, but you need to find a broker that you really feel comfortable with, that you trust, that is going to work exactly the way you want. Why are you taking a stranger's advice? You need to understand there's so many people that don't understand real estate. There's brokers that don't understand a lot of real estate. Every transaction's different. So something new is going to come up. there are a lot of people that don't understand it, and they may think somebody did a good job when in fact, as a broker, I haven't been impressed with that broker, with how maybe they've conducted something else. So you don't know if they qualified them well. You have to qualify people yourself.
Yeah, the best way to approach that, if you're looking for a realtor in your area, if you're on Facebook, is to ask a friend that
that you trust,
like, and trust, that also knows a lender and realtor that they know, like, and trust as well. That's going to be your best bet, rather than just, adding more anxiety.
You need somebody to say, I've worked with this. Yeah, I've worked with this person. This is what they did for me. This is what I liked. This is what I didn't. That's going to be a much more qualified referral than just, it's like pulling this out of a fishbowl.
Yeah, but no, that is one of my pet peeves. Also, one of my favorite posts for those reasons, right there. And
I think that the people that are asking for that think that they're doing right by themselves to look for the referral. You got to take it a step further. You can't put it in the community's hands of what you need.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this clip from this video and I'm going to post it on the community boards.
There you go.
Yep. Here's how to do this. So, all right. Let's see how that goes. I'm going to tag you in it too.
Oh, please. Yeah.
My turn?
I think it's your turn. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Let's do this. Story: buyer provided their earnest money at their bank after receiving mutual acceptance, and the bank approached them to compete with their existing lender. I know exactly who you're talking about, what situation you're talking about.
We had buyers that we spent several weeks. It was a couple months. We were really looking diligently. We put some offers in on houses, and it wasn't accepted. It was very competitive, and a competitive price point. We, stepped into a house, went under contract, and, stepped away from it after an inspection. And the second house we went under, they went to their financial institution to get money for the earnest money.
To wire it to escrow.
Yep, we were already under contract. Mm-hmm. And someone at the bank, obviously you would go to a teller initially. So I think the teller made the introduction, or maybe it was the teller, or I don't know. They said, hey, what lender are you working with? And they told, well, let's see if we can do better. They didn't take the time to understand what they were pre-approved for. They knew that they were under contract because they were getting earnest money. Nobody pulls out earnest money before you're under contract, typically.
Yeah, that's what they communicated to the teller.
Here was the scariest part for me as a broker. I said, well, you didn't fill out an application, did you? Well, we didn't. She did. She sat us down at the desk and asked all of our, and then I had to educate them on, let me tell you what that's going to do to your credit potentially. So I had to get Jeremy involved. And
not only that, so, ethically, could be a gray area. It's not something I would do, or,
not that way. Like,
no.
Literally typing in their application.
No, especially when they tell you, hey, we're wiring our earnest money, excited, we're under contract, we're buying a house, and we're going to wire this earnest money to title. And then the other thing, too, is so they were fully underwritten, pre-approved. Yeah. Everything was in the bag to the point where we could waive the financing contingency, like we had that talk. But here's what it does. So when we went under contract, I'm communicating to the seller and the seller's agent, like, hey, these guys are solid. They are in the bag. They're underwritten. Money's in all the places it needs to be. We're ready to roll, and we can do a quick closing. So by them going and then also, having another lender step in, that communicates to that seller, like, well, hold on. You just told me that they're solid, and why are they out shopping now? And this is unbeknownst to me. I didn't know all this happened until we get a credit trigger, like, hey, your credit was pulled by. I'm like, are you guys shopping for, what's going on here?
We had to kind of ask them, and then I had to educate them on it's going to delay the process. And if I was a seller or listing broker, I'd want to terminate this contract immediately, because this just opens up a can of worms. So the buyers certainly did not understand the process. They were first-time home buyers. I get all of that, but I really felt like it was it's one thing to suggest it. Hey, if this doesn't work, let me know, come back. But they didn't really understand that they were already fully underwritten. We have been searching for months. It was a very sticky situation, and that person put me in a position that I then needed to educate them on. If you go down this road, this is what's going to happen. And it created a very uncomfortable conversation with me and the buyers, with Jeremy and the buyers, that we did not create. It was...
Yeah, it's just more confusion. Yeah. And so if you're a buyer and you're out there and this does happen to you, be mindful that this will happen. You know, loans are scarce. People buying properties is scarce right now. And so, you know, everybody's going to do everything they can to try and get a deal. So, but if you're sending your earnest money to title and, you know, a lender reaches out to you, just say no.
Like,
so
as a broker,
I've already got it in the bag.
If I meet somebody and they ask me real estate and, hey, I'm thinking about buying we all know in Washington, the first thing I have to say is, are you currently working with another broker? Yeah, they showed me a few things. Do you have a buyer's agency agreement signed with them? Yes. We cannot talk. Yep. I cannot go show them different houses even though we don't have an agreement. I have to step out of it, and I should not even give them my advice. They are already doing business with another broker, and I kind of feel that way about a lender. Now, if you are, I don't care whether you're pre-approved, fully underwritten, before looking, if you want to see what somebody else can do for you, yeah, absolutely. But under contract, that makes me incredibly nervous if I was a listing broker, and it makes me just as nervous as a buyer broker.
And I'm amazed at how many times there's a group on Facebook where we see a lot of questions, and I've seen it multiple times where realtors will talk about, even when they're in the contract, I get them approved with one lender and I tell them to go shop with 3 other lenders. Like, that is the worst thing you could tell. No, like,
you're not prepared.
No.
Jeremy and I follow this real estate page, and it's informational because everything on there is so scary. The questions that they ask, I just think to myself, do they know what they're doing? Like, it is scary, scary, scary questions. What you should do as a buyer broker is have them shop around during that pre-approval process, figure out which lender, which program they offer, can help you the best, and then hone in on that particular lender, and let's go out, to try to put in an offer. But
stick with it.
Don't do that under the seller's time. It is it's rude and inconsiderate, and you're waving a lot of red flags.
Yep.
And I don't like to do business
Good
waving
point.
red flags. My turn?
Yeah.
Providing gift money to the buyer or to title and escrow. You have a good story about this.
So I mean, gift funds are a thing. You can get gift funds from a family member, and they can help with your closing costs and down payment. And one thing you want to do is, we always coach and advise, hey, if you're giving gift funds, you as the gift donor, just wire that directly to title. Let's just get it there, park it there. It's safe and for whatnot.
You know why? So that nobody spends it. What are you going to do if you give, let's say, your young adult child $10,000 for a down payment? You hand it over. If you give it to them, what if they spend half of it or all of it? It means that they need more of the down payment. Are you going to cough more up? I don't care if they're not a young adult child. Like, just don't open up any room for error. Wire it to title and escrow so that it's always there and you never have to worry about something happening.
Yeah, I had a situation like that. I was just telling you about that where buyer got gift funds from the father and a significant amount. And so coming to closing, we pull an extra bank statement and, just tighten things up for closing. And the buyer had spent some of the gift money. And I said, here's where we're at. These numbers are consistent throughout the transaction. Here we go. As the last, here's your closing. Oh, I don't have that. I'm like, what? Well, yeah, you do, because you just had that wired to your account from, your father. And so anyway, they spent a good portion of the money
that they
the
did
gift
not
funds
have to backfill.
Yep. And so we ended up getting the deal done, but it did create some conflict. So if you're buying a house and you get gift funds, don't spend it if it goes directly to your account and then you ship it off to title. The best way to protect everybody and everything is to just have the donor wire that money to escrow. Your lender can help you with that situation. So, yeah.
Buyer brokers are nervous when gift money is involved because the person gifting can change their mind and everything falls apart. If you're a buyer broker and you have taken that gift money, sent it to title and escrow, that's something that you can then discuss with the listing broker. The down payment is there, title and escrow already have it. They're not going to pull it back. It's going to give you one more layer of security.
Yep.
Just little teeny simple things to protect everyone.
And peace of mind goes a long way.
Peace of mind, right, for everyone involved.
It's my turn, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, question. Do HOA fees affect my purchase price? Yeah, let's talk about that. So, again, right now in a market where prices are high, interest rates are high, we have a lot of people looking at mobile homes in parks and condos because of that lower price point. So I always show a buyer, if they want to go for a condo, great, let's do that. Here's what the HOAs look like. So if you got a condo that's $300,000 for the condo, you're like, that looks great. And then you've got $700 in HOA fees that are due every month. That $700 a month payment, and there can be up to $1,200 in some areas out here, that eats away your purchase power. So what I like to do is then go, okay, here's what a condo looks like. This is what your payment's going to be, the HOA fee, mortgage insurance, whatever. All the fees are there. And then we like to go, what kind of property, what purchase price would you be at if you didn't have that $700 a month payment? Well, now we're $80,000, $100,000 more in purchase power. So it's good to look at those two things. And a lot of times, nobody's really talking about that. I have buyers that come in all the time and it doesn't click. So we have to show them this payment equals this much in purchase power. So it's not bad to go for a condo. Condos are a different animal. They're a little tricky to get into. But taking a look at that, whatever that HOA fee, and then comparing that to what it would be to buy a stick-built home with no HO fees, you're going to do better, and you're going to have a better purchase price and probably a lower payment too. So, that's how I address that and talk through the HOA fee. So that definitely does.
The payment and the HOA fee for you is separate, but a lender's going to look at it together. We need to know that you can afford the condo and the $700 a month HOA fees.
Yep.
How much do you charge for a CMA? So a comp market analysis. That was actually on social media, and I thought, somebody thinks that somebody's going to charge them. We're not going to charge you to comp your house. If you're thinking about selling it and you want to have an idea of what its value is, you need to have it comped out. And you can't just, try to figure it out yourself. You need to get with a broker that is going to comp your exact type house to others within a close proximity. You can't have a 1-story, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and a 2-story, 5-bedroom, 3-bath in the same neighborhood and think it's a comp. It's not. I certainly would never charge for it. I've never heard of anybody in the state of Washington doing it. That may be something in other states. I'm curious if brokers do that, but that's part of our service for you, is to comp out your house for you to think about whether you would like to purchase it or not. The other thing is that when we go to look at a house in a neighborhood, I pull the comps just to see if the house is priced appropriately, so I can advise my clients of, I pulled the comps on 5 other houses around here. Here they are. Give them, all the info on them and say, all of these houses are priced much lower. I think this house is priced a little too high. So would I ever charge anybody to do that? And I don't care if you had me do a comp, you wanted to sell your house, we had a listing appointment, you change your mind, that's fine. You need answers to make an educated decision. in 6 months to a year, you may decide, let's pull this comp again. Let's see how much more equity we have. And you may be ready to pull the trigger then. But if anybody's charging you for a comp, a CMA, don't do business with them.
Red flag.
Yep. That means they're counting out their commission before the contract is reach mutual acceptance. It's just not a good way of doing business in real estate.
I agree.
Yeah.
I got the last question.
Yeah, you do.
Alrighty.
Or topic, you don't know.
Let's see what we have here.
It's a question.
Ooh. Can I pay in cryptocurrency? So, short answer, yes, you can. Your down payment, closing cost, you can now do crypto. I know back in 2015, 16, right around there, I was living in Arizona, and there was someone that was trying to buy a home with using Bitcoin and cashing all that out. And it was a little bit of a difficult process because crypto was still fairly new, and everyone was trying to decide what it is that what can we use this and all that. So the house did get purchased, and so I started learning about that, how that all functions. And yes, you can. So depending on, if it's your wallet, you're using Coinbase or what app you're using that you store your crypto in, whether it's Bitcoin or any of those others, you cash that out, you can get a statement, but the underwriter is going to want to source that. So when you convert that crypto into the fiat dollar, then we're able to use that money to use as a down payment, and you're able to use that money. So until title and escrow accept crypto, that's the way it's going to be done.
I was going to say, you also need to find a title and escrow that is willing to do it, because there's so much fraud going on with it, and they need to not just give it a shot and let's see if we can do it. They need to be well versed in somebody paying with crypto. The other thing is that the broker needs to be fluent enough to discuss this with the listing broker and seller if that's the case. So,
and I feel like we're going to see more too as the monetary system, the fiat system is feeble at best.
A lot of our Californians that are moving up are using crypto because it's something that they purchase real estate with in California. So it's happened in our state. How many times, I'm not quite sure, but I think brokers definitely know that it's a question that's come across, and in every brokerage we've talked about it. Yeah.
And I think we're going to see it more and more as, like I said, this, the financial stuff that's happening with banks and everything. And people are, there is another, it's a viable thing right now, monetary system alongside of the
you just need to make sure that it's real. There's no fraud involved.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that was a great question.
It was. So like I said, our next podcast, we're really going to dive into more details about our for sale by owner and the benefit of getting a broker involved to list it, and what you may not know, what we can do for you. Most people just think, well, I'm not going to pay out 5-6%. Just sit down with a broker and see what they're willing to do. You never know whether they have a buyer that they can bring another broker on, and everybody very cohesively agree to some commission structure that's a whole lot cheaper than what you think. If you're still going to stand with a for sale by owner and represent the buyer, then there's still a broker involved. So we're going to jump into a lot of details of that and really encourage you to give it up to an expert. You have to remember that we go through continued education constantly, and it's because things are constantly moving. How are you ever going to know, even if you sold your house 5 years ago? All of the rules have changed. You really need to know how to protect yourself and not leave any money on the table. Every person that doesn't want to pay a broker, every time I see the price of their house, if they actually priced it for what I would price it at, which I still want to price it to sell, it would pay the brokers and have enough left over. You're really cutting off your nose, spite your face.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the conversation.
Yep, we want to educate you and protect you in that circumstance. So please let us know of any other topics or questions that come up, because we are going to continue to do this.
Yeah, leave it in the comments. We want to hear from you, so we love the questions, whether they come in on social media, YouTube, social media, but
or personally.
So anything, we want to cover these topics for you and help bring some clarity to just the misinformation that's out there. So that's all we have today. So thank you for watching. Give us a like and subscribe. And if you found this valuable, please share it with your friends. And we are here for your questions. Please reach out. We love hearing from you. You guys have a great afternoon. And
hope to hear from you. Thank you.
Watch for the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.